Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, April 27th, 2023, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. We have a remarkable show for you today. Intro to REMARK.re, traffic-aware instant booking service for real estate photographers. And our subject matter expert today is REMARK founder and CEO, Alex Gustafson. I was going to get it right, Alex.
Almost.
Gustafson.
There you go. That's the first time I think I've heard you flub my last name. So, you've made it a long time.
For a million years, you think I would get it right. So, Alex, good to see you. Thanks for being on the show today.
You too. Thanks, Stan, for having me.
Alex, before we jump into a deep dive demo of the front end and back end of REMARK.re, I think your story about you and about your company is hugely helpful for understanding today's topic about the REMARK.re traffic aware instant booking service, essentially what inspired it, where it came from, what problems you were trying to solve. How about taking us through your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I started the company in 2012, shooting real estate video, photos. We quickly went into Matterport. We were building our own drones to compete with helicopter companies at the time, because all you could really buy was off the shelf was a DJI with a GoPro fishbowl lens on it. And so we wanted to compete at a higher level, and we started building drones, and you know, it was an exciting time. And that's around when Matterport came out, and things took off, and we ended up having to hire different providers to help out with the demand. And I was just working nonstop and shooting all day from 7 a.m. to the sunset, essentially, and then editing till 2, 3 in the morning. It wasn't like it is now, where it's easy to find editors. So I had a bunch of college kids at the time that were turning over very quickly, trying to help with photo editing, and so typically it fell on my shoulders. And it was definitely early days for the real estate photography business. And one of the biggest pain points for us was, while you're in that creative mindset, or at least for me, it's very hard to suddenly snap out of it and then be answering emails or doing logistics and operations. And you always had to be doing that to make sure you weren't missing new customers, or not responding fast enough to somebody trying to download their files. So we really took a hard look at how we could automate our dispatching, because that was the biggest pain point for us. And living around Boston and servicing that area, where some of the worst traffic in the world, maybe next to Atlanta, it just, none of the off-the-shelf options would work with fixed padding on either side, things like that. Even if you accounted for enough padding, there are always the cases where there would be way too much, and then your schedule was inefficient, things like that. So we took a hard look at how we could develop something to fix that, and we ended up coming up with an algorithm that essentially scans your calendar into the future and does all of the routing. So it knows with each appointment it shows to a customer that you'll actually, as the service provider, have enough time to drive from wherever you're going to be, provide the service, and then get to wherever you need to go after that. And that was a major breakthrough. But then there still were some complications there, because, okay, well, even if the drive time is really long, you're showing them the appointments, same as the drive times where you're already going to be in the area on a different day. So why would the agent be incentivized to pick the one where you're not going to drive as long? And So we decided to create the travel fees based on drive time, or forecasted drive time. So what that did essentially is it made appointments around rush hour more expensive. If they were, let's say, maybe you were doing a reverse commute, or if the place was over a certain threshold, and that just was a game changer for us because, it just made it kind of aligned our pain points. Our pain point is we don't want to drive too far or sit in traffic because that's time we could have spent shooting, making money. And their pain point is they don't want to spend extra on a time slot. And if they really do need to, then, then you're happy because, hey, I just made an extra $10 or $20 or whatever your travel fee was to make that drive. So that was a big breakthrough for us. And we have built this whole platform around it to solve that pain point for any service providers that travel and provide a service that's based on the size of the property. So that's REMARK.re.
Let me just ask thank you. Let me ask you a clarifying question about the travel fee, because I want to say most photographers probably think in terms of a mileage fee. So I'm just thinking it's a little bit easier for me to think Atlanta to let's say Brookhaven to downtown Atlanta. I could probably do that maybe in 22 minutes, about 11 o'clock at night. If I did that at about 5 p.m., it might be an hour and 20 minutes. So it's the same exact mileage, but there's a huge difference in time. So just so I make sure that I understand here. So instead of charging the 12 miles times a rate, you're taking into account how much the photographer wants to charge for their time, knowing that time of day could mean the difference of an hour and a half to and from drive or a 20-minute to and from drive.
Yes.
And now you're charging for that pain point, and two things are going to happen. Either the photographer is going to be happy because they're getting paid to sit in traffic at the rate of which they want, or the real estate agent is going to book the time and day where it is the least expensive for the identical miles, because the photographer is either going to be in that area or the traffic is predicted to be the lightest in that area. Is that kind of a summary of that breakthrough pricing that you've done in your algorithm?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And we find that on average, the providers who do implement this fee, I mean, it can be small, and it should probably be small. Just enough to give them a little nudge. The ones that do implement this fee on average make about $11.50 per booking. So, and I would say most don't have a fee. So it seems that agents will just book the time with the fee if their seller needs 9 a.m. at rush hour for you to come into the city. And so you might get extra, you set a threshold for the minimum, and then how much minimum that you'll travel for free, and then how much per minute above and beyond that you'll travel.
So are there additional pain points that you experienced as your agency, your real estate photography agency grew and you had multiple people, rather than just being yourself, that all of a sudden that created other problems or challenges, and therefore that was to help motivate building out REMARK.re?
Yeah, I mean, there are unlimited challenges, and there are still challenges today that we're solving. And I think the biggest ones were mostly related to content management, delivery, and invoicing. I remember Sunday nights were my night to sit down and do all my invoices, because it was the only time of the week where my phone wasn't ringing, and I would just sit there and catch up on invoices. And I hated Sundays. So we automated that process, and then we had people who would download the pictures and we'd never hear from them again. Luckily, I think most people are generally good. That only happened a couple times. But you know, that was something we integrated to, was paywalls. And it wasn't necessarily even to protect ourselves from people who were knowingly wronging us by just not paying and using the pictures. It was more to speed up the payments. So we were a lot more liquid at that point, and thus able to, if we were hitting into a spring market and things were really ripping in terms of listings, we would have money 2 days after the appointment. So instead of before, we'd be waiting, you know, a month, 2 months sometimes for people to pay. So this was a big change for us as well.
Awesome. I want to talk more about all the benefits of, and I think it really comes down to probably three things. It's about using REMARK.re, resulting in increasing revenue, reducing pain for the real estate agent, and reducing pain for the real estate photographer and the real estate photography agency, if there's more than one. But before we kind of do a little bit deeper dive in that, I think it might be helpful to actually get a demo of the front end of REMARK.re and then take us into the back end. Can you do that? And then we'll talk more about how what we're looking at actually matters in terms of helping increase revenue for the photographer, for example.
Sure. I think there are two sides of this, obviously. And the first thing I'll show is just the booking experience as a real estate agent. I will have the other window open just so I can make sure I know where this photographer is. Yep. So this is a photographer named Andy Brinker. I don't know if anyone's seen the Disney movie Brink, but I'm digging deep for fake names over here. So it's a 90s movie about a rollerblader. And Andy Brinker is now a real estate photographer, and here are his services. And you can see that he's got all these different videos embedded directly in line.
Time out, Alex. I just focus on me. I'm the real estate agent. I only got 10 minutes for you. So tell me how to book.
Yeah, no, this is what you'd be doing. So you're on here and you're curious about what service Andy offers and if he has examples of each service. And so you can flip through. Each gallery belongs to a service, and it will tell you as soon as you enter the property information. So let's just say 704 Bay Road, Duxbury. So once you put in the property details, this requires the square footage and the address. Some people require listing price for some of their services. And if so, that would be a third input on the property info tab. There would be another one here for listing price. So once you put in all of those dependencies, the customer will see the price, an accurate quote.
Alex, let me stop you. I'm your customer, so talk to me, please. I want all of his services. So let's give me an overview, please, so I can understand and just double check which services and get an idea of the caliber of the work. And then I want to add to my cart and I want to schedule pay.
You got it, Dan. So okay. Dan's booking over here. Dan's the agent. He lives in Massachusetts, and we are trying to get just photos and floor plans. So we're going to put that in our cart, $200. And this is a test account, so we don't want to spend $20,000 on drone. We'll save that for a different year. And then next week, Wednesday looks good for our schedule. So we'll check that day for availability. And while that's happening, I'm actually going to pull up the calendar. So you'll see right here. So Andy's location, he's a photographer in Boston. And you don't necessarily need to know that as Dan, the agent, but you do know, okay, well, if I book this appointment or this appointment, for some reason, these ones are cheaper. So why wouldn't I just book this one? This is, say, almost 10% by booking 9:30 in the morning. Let's go for that. That's a big update we made recently, is flipping it. So it's no longer showing you the fee, but it's showing the discount that you'll receive by picking the more efficient time. And I did, with this test account, wildly set the travel fees just to make that comparison, but the concept's still the same. So here I'm going to do Dan test and do and then you've got the cancellation policy and everything here too. So since the last time we've talked, providers are now allowed to put in their paywall if they need to. And so depending on the service provider's preferences, you might have to put in your payment details before booking. So no problem. It's an easy form to fill everything out. And you can even save your ID on here. So you're just authenticated by phone, and next time you come to book a service, it's easily pulled up right there.
Okay, so I know you're in test mode, but let's say I went and paid. Could I now add additional services, or I really needed to do that before I scheduled and booked?
There is a way that you can do that. It's not enabled on this account, but there would be there's a more streamlined, like, add services area on the booking itself.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, Alex, could we please go back to the front page that offered all the services? Because
Sure.
I just would really like to check out his different services. I believe that if we went under that, we could actually play a video. We could take a look at floor plan examples. We could take a look at some photos.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's no limit for pro subscribers on how many you can put on here.
I'm a photographer. Stay with me. Excuse me. I'm a real estate agent.
You're an agent.
Stay with me.
So
only an agent.
yeah,
I don't want to hear about your photographer. I know
as an
we'll get
agent,
there.
you're gonna love the adaptive streaming, and you're not even gonna know that it's doing it. But it's a very smooth playback, and you can browse right in line here, or you can click on the corner to expand it, and then you can view the home, add the service if you want. And this is me starting over from scratch.
So would I always be, after I add the first service, put in the address information, or do I load up my shopping cart and then go put in the address?
You can, you have to, if you hit add to cart and you don't have an address in yet, it will ask you to put one in. And that just makes sure that you're getting a quote each time you put something in your cart. So it's not a surprise.
Okay, got you. So, once I put in the address to schedule, let's say, photos and floor plan, then it'll come back and ask, would I like some additional services? Excuse me.
Yes, yeah, you bump right back to this stage, and you can keep putting things in your cart. So let's say I want photos and video on this one. Is that good? Is that all you want on this page, Dan?
Well, I think there were two things here that if I understand correctly, if I clicked on photos, I could see some more examples of his work, and there might be some text that goes with that to explain his services. Maybe he shoots HDR and he has some explanation that he does that.
Yeah.
And that's true on each of those different services.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's description. So you put in a limited description, but that the photographer could tell me more about their photography services.
Exactly. And this is not an advisable description. It's better to be verbose and how you explain all the specs for each service.
Okay,
I mean,
so the
even
good news is you're very busy, so you haven't taken the time to build out your demo for me. And I noticed if we go back, close out that, we go back to the page, I notice it's gray on both sides. So I'm presuming that this is a demo account, and had this been a real account, that this would have been embedded in the photographer's page as a widget.
exactly.
Okay, great. And then I think when you, and I may have messed you up here, but when you placed the original order and you got to a landing page that looked like it was shareable.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's we've got a landing page here, and it allows the agent to share this link. So anybody that has this link here will be able to share it with anyone. They won't need to log in. It's a secure URL.
Okay, so I'm the real estate agent. I can share that with anyone. When I completed my order, did I get an email? Did I get a text message to
You did.
confirm?
Well, whoever's lucky enough to have WGA.com got an
so
email.
That's a non-working email address, but if anyone wants to actually email me, DanSmigrod at WGAN-TV.com. So had that been a real email address in your demo account, I would have received an email and a text to alert me to that shoot.
Exactly. So as a booker or customer of Andy's photography, you'll receive a confirmation email, a confirmation text message, a calendar invite, and it'll go on your calendar if you accept invites. And then 24 hours before the appointment, you'll also get a reminder for the appointment.
Okay, and then if Andy has multiple photographers, was I actually selecting a particular photographer? And therefore, all that info is in the email to me or in the managed booking link?
Yes, so this is a one-to-one right now. So if you were booking Andy specifically, there are ways that we've had customers. Well, I'm talking to the agent version of you, so you didn't need to pick a photographer because you're already on AndyBrinkerPics.com.
Yes, but Andy might have.
He's a one-man shop.
Oh, okay, but if Andy had a second shooter, is it presenting me with everything as separately, or is it just under one brand? The times and days are presented, and then when I get my confirmation, it tells me who the photographer is that's going to show up.
We have some people who are building more of a marketplace style where they get to pick photographers, and we've got people who are building where it does almost a round robin approach, and we've also got companies using us that have, let's say, 50 different service providers, and they have a dispatching team and they're manually doing it. And we have a dashboard for those dispatchers to still manually do it, but with the aid of all of our algorithms and everything.
Excuse me, Alex, is there, before we jump into the back end demo of REMARK.re, was there anything else that you wanted to show me as the real estate agent?
Yeah, so here you've got more access. There's the copy link button, actually, appointment notes, and then we've got cancel down here, which if you do cancel this, since it is a shareable URL, the one thing we do is we send the booker the email link so that they actually have to have access to that email in order to be able to cancel the appointment. Then down here is where the provider will be able to deliver media at the end. And I do have an example of that I can show you.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, I'm still the real estate agent. The shoot has been completed. I'm ready to get my order. What happens next?
Okay, so So here's an example of when photos have been uploaded, and I believe this provider is set to charge immediately, or the invoice was charged already. So you might see this in a different state where it could have watermark over the middle. But in this case, these photos are already paid for, so you can browse through them, and now you can actually download them one by one in either PDF, large, which is original resolution, medium resolution, or small.
Okay, so
And
since I paid for this shoot in advance, I don't see any watermarks.
exactly, yeah.
And I can hit download all and pick what format that I want it, or multiple formats.
Yep, you pick the format, and so that's obviously great for you as the agent. Everything's there, it's easy. You don't have to download all the original ones if you
Okay.
don't need them yet.
So Alex, when I placed my order, I also ordered video, Matterport, floor plans, aerial. Am I getting everything on this one page?
Yes, so everything comes up on this one page.
Whatever I've
and
ordered, it's all delivered as one page, and then I can download or grab the links in the case of Matterport, for example.
exactly, yep.
Okay,
And
great. I just wanted
same-
to ask you one more question before we move on
Sure.
to the back end demo. There's a cancel button. You know, I imagine there's a reason that you've done that, because most photographers may actually not want to make it as easy as you did, but I'm guessing there's a story there. You got a story to tell me about making it easy for people to cancel?
I mean, did you just end my screen sharing? Or
I did.
Okay. It's we did it, and we found it didn't really impact our cancellations. It just made it easier for people to move things around. We did make sure that our cancellation policy was more clearly stated on the booking page before they booked, so we didn't feel as bad about charging cancellation fees. And I would recommend to anybody to stick to your guns about charging the cancellation fees when you've clearly been canceled on and it wasn't really due to a real event, because people, I think, respect you for it, and it makes your business run more efficiently to charge those fees.
All right,
so
great. Let's switch to the back end demo. So I have just signed up for REMARK.re. Now what?
all right, so now that you've signed up, welcome. And I am going to show you a different side of this dashboard. Let me make sure.
Again, you can check this out at remark.re, and in the We Get Around Network forum, Alex's member name is @_AG. And you go ahead and share your screen. That'd be great, Alex.
Yeah. Just make sure I'm logged into the right user. Okay, so sharing, where are my controls?
Green button at the bottom.
How's that? Good. We're live, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here, what you see is just the standard page. You've already done the onboarding, so I skipped that because it's kind of hard for me to do it twice. due to the Google
That's
connection.
fine, but I'm presuming that once I've set up my account and I've linked to my Google Calendar, presumably you're pre-populating examples of video, basic video, photos, aerial, Matterport photos, floor plan, etc., just as a starting point, so that I don't have to click on the new service and begin from scratch. Is that?
Yeah, so you won't start by default with these videos already in here. It would just be a nice little thumbnail that's just a solid background with the text over it. But as soon as you upload your first picture or video, that's the first thing that shows up on the service. So
For clarification, I'm in control of the thumbnails that show off my photography service, my video, my aerial, my photos, my Matterport tours.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why you start from a comfortable state where we basically populate everything except for the media, so that there's no confusion there. And so there's once you have those set up, by default, it's going to set up, I think, video, photos, Matterport, and I think iGuide actually as well.
Okay.
Maybe a couple others. And you can disable them. It's more to just help you see a template instead of starting completely from scratch. And so let's say we want to edit video as a service, we can hop in here. And this is where you can really build out the service description. And then once you get through that, you can build out the duration that each appointment takes. So let's say for this particular service, it takes you 20 minutes, no matter how big the place is, to get there, set up your equipment, and take a walk through the house and just make sure everything's good for video. Because even if you've already done photos, sometimes just switching to video, you want to make sure
I got to
doors
open
are
and close
open,
my
things
case
like
and get
that.
my lenses out, set up my tripod. So I always have setup time. So that's great.
And then from there, you take the square footage of the property and you multiply it by however many minutes. So every 1,000 square feet equals 10 more minutes. So if you have a 2,000 square foot place, this service would take 40 minutes approximately.
Mhm.
And then right here, you've got the service turnaround time that shows for the customer on the booking page. And it also will be factored into our AI chat later when that's coming out. So here we've got the gallery that you're able to add in different types of media, obviously photos, video, whatever you want to put in there. If you want to add an embed code, click the 3 little dots in the top right corner, and you could just type in the embed code details here, or just paste in the actual code from the iframe code from wherever, Matterport or
Yeah,
YouTube,
maybe we
Vimeo.
could look at the Matterport example so that we could see an example of how you've done that.
Yeah. So let's go over there. So here you've got it's pretty simple. It's the same as video. You can drag and drop by grabbing that little thing in the corner.
Could you open the gallery? Because I'm expecting to see that I'm either adding a Matterport URL or I'm adding Matterport embed code. Or off
so
to the right.
These have already been added. I can find a different Matterport URL if you want.
Maybe if you just open it, we could see what it looks like opened. Does that work?
So I don't think it actually like pops out at this stage.
Okay, got it. So if we were adding a new Matterport tour, I would have the option of either adding it via a Matterport link or adding it via Matterport embed code. Does that sound right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so since that's the case, that sounds like whether I'm using Matterport, iGuide, or one of many other 3D or 360 tour services totally works. It's not limited to Matterport.
Yeah, it could be anything, any
And-
web page that you want to embed in there. Yeah.
Okay, great. So is there something different regarding the back end when it comes to photos, video, floor plans, drone photos, drone aerial, twilight? Is there anything else that's a little bit different?
No, it's all just whatever services you do. So, I mean, even if you're a house cleaner or an appraiser or a mobile dog groomer, you can use this to dispatch yourself in the future, and set up services here. So,
Okay. So you're at the top of the show, you talked about charging by the wait time, essentially going to and from. Where is that put in?
yeah, so the wait time, if you go into your profile over here, you'll see that you've got travel and location as an option. And we actually have some exciting announcements about this feature too, because I mean, I think we've probably got one of the best algorithms, if not the best, for instant booking of traveling service providers in an easy format. But we're very, very focused on that one aspect and will be forever as REMARK.re. And just because we think minimizing the efficiency or minimizing the downtime and the waste in your schedule and maximizing your efficiency is our main goal when it comes to making this easier for you and your customers. Because
in fact, as I'm looking at this, I think part of the spin for the customer is we are trying to be green and efficient by reducing our carbon footprint and the number of miles that we drive to do our shoots every day. And that's why you see that you get to save some money by helping us be efficient and save the planet.
Exactly. Yeah. So
okay. So is there? So I see travel time, so I can charge, let's say, travel time. I am not sure I understand 15 minutes. Help me understand that.
Yeah, sure. This is there's a lot on this page, and there will be more on this page very soon. We've got some things available via our API that aren't quite on this dashboard yet, but we've seen some pretty excellent use cases. And so just to go over the ones that are here right now, we've got the fixed travel adjustment, which is essentially a buffer. So let's say you want 10 minutes, no matter what, between your appointments. And even if it's right across the street and it's a 0-minute drive time, you want 10 minutes. So you've got
that being factored into the cost as well?
No, it's not factored into the cost. It's simply just taken into account when generating the booking time slot. So it just adds it in as a downtime buffer, essentially. Then you've got the maximum distance as the crow flies that you're willing to travel. And this is exactly what it seems like. Here's my 100-mile radius, which is pretty large. I will show up as available to anyone who searches within this radius.
Well, just out of curiosity, obviously you can't drive to Nantucket, or maybe I'm wrong. Is there a ferry? And are you taking into
There is a ferry. Yeah, there is a ferry.
I flew to Nantucket. Are you including ferry time?
I think it might. I might need to fact check that, but I mean, there's an island right out off of California called Catalina, and I think I saw somebody browsing my calendar to book me in Catalina, and I was actually shocked that it worked, and I had no desire to go over there to shoot anyways. But
so presumably you're checking travel times, and travel time would, I presumably, let you know, well, the ferry is going to take this long to get there, and based on where you were and where you're going, and then where you're going next, I presume it could calculate the ferry.
Yeah, it should, and it has in the past. So
All right. I'm sorry.
if you're an island hopper,
Squirrel. I didn't
and
mean to distract you with and it's
no, I mean it's the
but
yeah, I have friends in Washington, and the ferry is a part of their everyday commute, and so I'm curious if anyone uses this and actually is island hopping, if it works for them, and I would love to hear about it.
right. So the
So
maximum
in any
distance
event,
determined the circle that I'm looking at, the diameter, the radius. It determined the radius from Boston with that 100 miles as the
yep.
crow flies. Okay, great. There's the address. Now, I'm just going to guess here that the 48 Ward Street, Boston, is the default address unless the calendar actually has the where I was last night or where I am this morning.
All right. So how this works is, can you see my calendar now?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So I'm going to
Yes.
switch between a couple screens. Let me just group them accordingly. So the first step when you sign up, there are two, maybe three steps before the services list page. So first thing you do, set up your username and password. Second thing you do is you set up your location. And so it's always got a location for you. And this serves as your home or office location, wherever you sleep at night or wherever you spend your mornings and nights by default.
This is my begin and end time for all the calculations for the first appointment and last appointment.
Exactly. Yeah. So, or appointments where you didn't put a location, it's just going to assume you're home at that time.
Okay.
So that's also a fallback location. So I would advise people to always put their location on events or approximate location if it's a shared calendar, and you don't want to show whoever you're sharing it with where you're going to be all the time. But for the most part, this is your fallback location.
Okay, and I see payment processing in the top left there. So is that, am I putting in my Stripe information, or is it Stripe and you also tie into other payment processors?
So it's Stripe, but before we get to that, I just have a couple more things I wanted to mention about this. So in the coming weeks, we've got a couple big new features. The one with regards to efficiency is we've built a proprietary algorithm that will create what we call snappiness rating. And a lower snappiness rating means it's more likely to be right after a appointment or butting up against another appointment. And so that way you're not getting these appointments where there's a 40 minutes in between them and you're just right across the street and you're just sitting there. You could have taken a whole other appointment. So it really makes it so you can maximize your day. These variables are already available through our API. But then we've also got one coming called a weighted efficiency score, and that will even further take that step up a notch to where you can customize things like, okay, how much drive time do I want to do maximum versus the shorter travel leg of a proposed appointment. So, and downtimes, you've got downtime to and from. There's a lot of thought that goes into the tools that we built.
Let me see if I understand that. So I have a booking that ends at 11. My next booking is at 3 o'clock, and REMARK.re is trying to book the appointments as close to my finish at 11 o'clock, or as close to, taking into account how long it's going to shoot, as close to my 3 o'clock, rather than having something shot at 1 o'clock and creating this ginormous gap in my morning schedule and my afternoon schedule. Sorta?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that example is a little tight. If you're starting at 11, it might end, let's say it's an hour, you're going to end at noon. And it obviously depends on how long this proposed appointment is, what we refer to a lot. So it depends how long that is, but let's just, for example, just say your day's wide open. It's not going to prioritize as highly the appointments at noon as it would the 9 a.m. appointment.
So is this all done through that saving mechanism? So it looks nice from the real estate agent. They'll save the most money for that address if they book immediately, essentially immediately after I'm done with my other shoot, or immediately before my end of day shoot. So I don't end up having a schedule that looks like, oh, I have one at 8 a.m., one at noon, and one at 5 p.m. And that's a worst case. And I got all this downtime in the wrong place. Where the real estate agent might have been motivated who booked the noon or 1 through savings to be booking it close to that morning appointment or close to that evening appointment.
Yes, I think I follow, and that's the gist of it. So there are a few different ways that we can handle it. They could be sorted in the list based on their snappiness rating or their weighted efficiency score that you set up. And there's another one where you could filter them if they're above a certain point. So you simply just don't even show appointments with more than 30 minutes of downtime, let's say. And that makes it so you're always showing the appointments where you're going to be in the area and you're going to be just finishing or just about to go to another shoot.
Was this a problem you were trying to solve? Because in Boston, you didn't want to end up on the east side, going to the west side, going back to the east side, and your day was all traveling?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, and, you could have drive times that were the same at 3 p.m. and 11 a.m. To and from the locations, but one of them might result in you having a lot more downtime on your calendar. So through this rating system, you'll be able to prioritize that one.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to summarize that up as it's magic.
Yeah, it's snappiness.
Snappiness. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So at the bigger picture level here, you've taken us through the front end demo, a back end demo. I want to understand, like, okay, how is using REMARK.re going to help me make more money?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of ways. Simply the money it puts back in your pocket. If you're charging even the slightest travel fee, there's hard costs that come back to you, and there's costs that you don't see, opportunity costs that you don't miss out on. Getting an appointment in the middle of your day or right dead smack in between 2 appointments that results in 2 hours of downtime. So all of these things, I mean, the hard cost is on average the providers who have been using the travel fees, and we've gone back over several months and we see that they're making about $160 a month in these travel fees, and so that they're more than pays for the cost of the pro subscription for Remark. And then there's obviously
the most money, the biggest opportunity is getting more shoots per day, being able to do that. Is that the case? That
exactly
it's efficient with all the things that you've described that REMARK.re provides, that instead of doing 2 shoots a day, I'm doing 3. Instead of doing 3 shoots a day, I'm doing 4. Instead of doing 4 shoots a day, I'm doing 6. If instead of doing 4 shoots a day, somehow I managed to get in 8 because of all this snappiness and how things were working. You've been doing this for a while. So is the experience been that those customers have are REMARK.re customers are reporting, hey, I'm getting more shoots in than I was before, however I did it, whether I was manually or accepting text messages or emails or smoke signals, it's just way more efficient. And I'm getting more.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're getting more sleep too. You're not always worried, but yeah, you're able to stack them closer together, especially when we come out with this updated algorithm, and you are able to do that in a way that allows you to get more bookings faster. So your customers aren't waiting to hear back from you, and then when you get back to them, they have to ask their sellers. It's just the agent with their seller. They go back and forth on your calendar, figure out a time without going through you or your customer support person. So, there's anywhere from 4 to 5 parties involved in standard booking, where you've got the customer, the agent, the provider, and in between them, you might have a dispatcher. And there's a lot of disconnect there. This cuts everything out and just brings it between 2 parties. So yeah, I mean,
I can
in
see the real
addition,
estate agent opening up his or her laptop in front of the client and saying, let's pick a time, and literally book it on the spot with the client, not necessarily showing them what the cost is or anything else, and just says, hey, we have a photographer available at 9:30 on Tuesday. Does that work for you? Yes, great. Just finished the booking, done. And the real estate agent saw that they were saving 8%.
yeah, exactly.
How about
And
same
then
day bookings?
same day, they could be sitting together and say, do you want somebody here in an hour? And if you're available.
And if the photographer, so you could actually, the real estate agent could open up their laptop, see, oh, I could actually get this done at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, I'm going to offer that to my client. Would 2 o'clock this afternoon work? So that just literally recalendars, sends out the notices. The photographer gets the notice, the real estate agent gets the notice, everybody's happy.
Yeah, so it's the same booking flow as usual. They just see same day availability.
I think what I was hearing when you started your business of your photography, first as yourself, and then adding real estate photographers, one of the challenges was, well, I'm driving to an appointment. You couldn't possibly figure out what your schedule looks like or whether you can accommodate. So now literally you can say, go to my website and just go book. And then while you're driving, you're getting an alert that essentially says, oh, an appointment has been added this afternoon. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, we joke because a lot of the people that use it, we have to mute that text thread from the booking line, especially when it gets really busy. And that's a good feeling when you start to get annoyed by the booking text, then you're doing okay.
You're doing okay.
Yeah.
In terms of, so how important has this travel fee, not mileage, but travel fee mattered? It sounds like every photographer that is a client of REMARK.re who is using that feature is found money for their travel time.
Yeah, it's definitely very important.
And perhaps also reducing their travel time while increasing their revenue.
Yes, and yes. So it's a way for you to say, okay, if I'm going to take this appointment and sit on the road for extra time, I'm going to get paid for my time sitting on the road, or they book me when I won't have to spend that time on the road. So it's a very fair way to do it. And customers do understand. It was a big leap for us to make that transition, and we were concerned. And of course, you get a complaint every once in a while, but once people use it and they're like, oh, this is really easy, I'm glad that I can see your schedule. And the retention is where you really get the most value back, because those people will come to you again over somebody who doesn't have a system like Remark.
Alex, is there a question I haven't asked you that I should ask you? Is there some story to tell?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the biggest challenges is it's a booking page you embedded in your website, and you still have to tell your customers to go to your website, and that can be a little bit clunky especially if you're in the process of making that transition to online booking, whether it's through a simple email form or something like this. It's when you get a new client, you still have to put them there, tell them what to do. And so for years, we've really been obsessed with this idea of how can we capture the customers where they are and on the channels they want to communicate with you. And so that's chat, and it's talking to you, whether through the phone, through text, or through intercom or something like that. And so we've spent a tremendous amount of time and effort this year building out GPT style chat bots for service providers to launch on their own. And it will factor in their availability in the future. It uses our API, essentially the exact same way our user interface does that you can embed in your site, but it will tell people when you're available. It'll collect their information. It'll create the booking. And it's very friendly. It's always working. And there's a lot more to that we'll be sharing over the coming weeks leading up to a full release of it, full production release.
So today is Thursday, April 27th, 2023. When is your chatbot service going to be available for REMARK.re powered by ChatGPT?
So we've actually already got a handful of people using it, and we intend on releasing the second cohort of about 50 providers who've signed up for a waiting list. It should be released next week to them. And the second cohort is full. It's 150 service providers, and that will be released the 15th through the 19th. So right now, if you signed up, it would be, we have 500 that we're filling quickly, which is just mind blowing to us. And that will be through late May, early June that you'll receive access. And we are basically prioritizing those who have filled out all of their services and are a good fit. So obviously there's a lot of variance in how a chatbot can respond. So we want to make sure all of your service.
Excuse me, is the chatbot, is it only available to paid members? Remark.re is a freemium model. So there's a free tier to get started. So if you're on the free tier, are you eligible for?
You're not eligible on the free tier. So I think I'm sharing my screen right now. So we've got a little bit of an Easter egg, and Dan has mentioned this isn't very user friendly, but I think it's kind of cool for now. I'll send you this link actually, so you can post it if you'd like. But
yes.
So once you're on this dashboard, you have to be on the pro plan. You can hit tab, and when you hit tab, you'll see the example over here. Here's an example. So this is a real chat. Hey there, what can I do for you? Can you tell me about your services? Absolutely. We offer a variety of services for real estate marketing, help you stand out, blah, blah, blah. Here's our portfolio with instant booking if you'd like to see everything in one place. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to help. What's your turnaround? And then for photography, aerial photography, Matterport, it's 48 hours with video tours turned around within 72 hours. And if you'd like turnaround, we offer more same day and next day options at $89 and $39 respectively. And so it is just mind blowing. I mean, the possibilities.
So a few things. I heard you're going to send me a link, and for our viewers, I'll set up a short link for you at WGAN.info/remark chatbot. So that link will be working shortly after the show. And if I heard you correctly, Alex, you'll go to that link and then hit tab, and you'll actually then end up on your chatbot page. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can only sign up though to be on the waiting list if you are a paid subscriber to Remark.
Correct. Yeah, it is a paid feature. So on the dashboard of your paid account, you hit tab, and that's where you'll see the onboarding. And we sent those instructions out to a handful of people who were subscribed and had good looking services, and they shared it with their people who signed up, and it's kind of become a little bit more viral than we expected. So
I just have a few more minutes. I want to just double check on the chatbot powered by ChatGPT. Will the cost of that feature be part of the paid tier, or is that an additional fee on top of that?
So that's something that we will give everybody the details to as soon as they're onboarded by cohort. And there will be a certain amount that is included that we think is great for a base level chat with your customers. But obviously there are more advanced options that you can take on. And
just for clarification, I don't need to plug in any API to take advantage of this. There will be some presumably where you're essentially telling the chatbot, you're telling GPT, here's the knowledge base about this photographer you have, because the photographer has entered in all their pricing, all their description, their company name, everything. ChatGPT knows everything and can answer those questions, those basic questions.
Yes. So exactly. And that's why we're only accepting our pro members.
Let's do this. Let's put a pause there. After you launch, you want to come back and do a show just specifically on that feature, because that's super exciting, of a chat bot powered by ChatGPT for the purpose of scheduling, booking a photographer. Was there any other topic we hadn't discussed that you wanted to talk about?
No, there are a lot more features that are going to be involved in that we've got, and we'll be rolling out probably next week to the people on that list. And so I'm just excited to see what people do with it on their own. And it's definitely the next phase for us, and it was kind of a perfect solution for what we need to do. So awesome. A lot more to come.
One more question, Alex, because when I look at REMARK.re, I would describe it as a traffic-aware instant booking service for service providers who want to fit more bookings into their day. And I never said photographer in that sentence. So are there things in your mind that you're looking at? Okay, we built this out for real estate photographers, but there are a lot of different service providers in other fields that do appointments. Is that where you're headed?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how we built the whole product. So our landing page might say a little bit about photography services, and then the fact that we do populate some photography services when you sign up by default. Those are the only things that really have anything photography related, but really anybody who needs to drive between locations in the future and provide booking to their customers, and invoicing and all of that that comes along with it. So, I mean, even support, if you provide customer support and you want to help yourself automate that with a small team, you can do that too. So it's very much for hardworking service providers that want to make their businesses more efficient and make more money, so awesome. They can take vacation or not do invoices on Sunday night, things like that.
Awesome. Alex, thanks for being my guest on the show today.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
We've been visiting with REMARK founder and CEO, Alex Gustafson, and I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and you've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5.